This video is brought to you by SquareTrade.com. For the ultimate iPhone warranty, go to SquareTrade.com/TSIG. Hello YouTube, this is Quinn, that's Snazzy iPhone Guy, and this is the video review of the Beats by Dre Pro headphones from Monster Cable. Now these headphones retail for a whopping $450, but can be found for $400 on BestBuy.com, as well as your local Best Buy reseller, and then $349 on Amazon. Now there are already fakes appearing on eBay and Craigslist. Be very cautious when ordering from these sites, as there are tons of fakes floating around. Your best bet is just to buy from an authorized reseller so you don't get scammed out of $450. So this is Quinn, that's Snazzy iPhone Guy, and I'm very excited to get into this review. Now, why do I have this mixer and why do I have a soundboard set up on the left? Now, the reason this is because I do want to kind of show you that I'm not your average typical consumer. I work with a band, I'm in a band, and we record about 1 day a week and practice 5 days a week. Now, we use very, very high quality advanced technology in our studio, and I'm not your average Joe Blow consumer. You know, I know exactly how headphones work, and I know the premise of high-end audio. So this comes with a bit of merit, and I am, a more experienced reviewer in this field. I'm not your average fanboy that loves Monster Cable because they sent them headphones. And that's the other thing to note. These headphones were sent for review by Monster Cable. However, that in no way predisposes me to vote in the headphones' favor. That Snazzy iPhone Guy has always brought the most honest reviews on the net, and that is not going to change anytime soon. Now, the Monster Cable Pros are a very, very interesting rendition of these headphones. They've kind of aimed this at a more professional market. And while I do feel that this is probably still prosumer, they come in with a pretty good angle and offer a lot of features that Proline headphones are in fact missing. So let's get into the headphones themselves, and I'll tell you what's in the box, and then we'll get into sound in a minute. Now, the headphones themselves are created out of aluminum. They sound absolutely incredible. They look absolutely incredible. And, they have the typical folding design that you've come to expect with your Beats by Dre. They're just built out of really high quality, and I feel that this is one step up from the studios. The studios were fine for me, but a lot of people began to have quality control issues with them. I've had zero problems with the Pros, and I have no problem throwing these around. Working in studio as a drummer, I get sweaty, I get rigorous with my headphones. It sounds pretty gross, pretty nasty, but the fact of the matter is headphones do get worn and torn. And if you can find a good pair of headphones that will resist and endure through this, it's really a good selling point, and I think the Pros have handled that pretty nicely. I typically in studio have 2 pairs of headphones. I have a very, very high-end quality Sennheiser pair of headphones that I use in studio for recording. Now, when I'm practicing, when we're working as a band, I use an Audio-Technica pair of headphones. They're only about $80-$90. They sound pretty good, but the problem with these is I burn through a pair about every 6 or 7 months because I get so heavy on these headphones. Now, with these headphones, they are obviously significantly more than that $90 Sennheiser price point, but they do sound better. But with that sound comes really, really high quality build. They are built out of aluminum. These cups are removable. They pop right off when you can get them off. And you can wash these and throw these wherever you may, so you can get these cleaned off, get them all denastied, and you can get those back and ready to roll. Now, you can see the drivers are housed in there. They're pretty massive, and they sound pretty marvelous. Now, these cups are a little bit hard to get back on, which is one of my complaints, but what can you do? Oh, well. So on these headphones, you have 2 ports here on the bottom, and this is pretty unusual for headphones, and you will note that there are 2 on each end for 2 different reasons. The first reason is it acts as an input, and then it acts as an output. Now, Monster calls this their proprietary technology, and while I do kind of guess it is proprietary because only Monster is doing it, it doesn't mean it only works from Pro to Pro. And you may be thinking, whoa, what exactly are you talking about? Well, let me show you. Your Monster Cable headphones come with a physical cable. It's a very thick, very high quality headphone cable that will not tangle, and comes with each 3.5 millimeter to 3.5 millimeter male ends. Now this one will go into your player itself, and then you'll find that there is a telescopic telephone-like cable, which allows you, if you're reaching away from something, to use. I thought this was kind of stupid, kind of bulky. I'd never come in handy with this because the cable is already pretty long as it is. But it turns out that I actually have used this in pretty weird circumstances, and I'm glad it came in handy when it did. Now, as we move down the cable's about 36 inches, by the way, but when we move down to the end of the cable, we will see that there is a unique looking 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. As you can see, there are two little black nubs, and these will plug into your headphones. Now, the headphones are denoted left and right by the notations there, but I've also come to know the headphones so well that these are a little bit offset, and the further that these are forward, that's the ear that it goes on. Confusing, I know, but don't worry about it. So if you can check on the headphones here, there is an arrow that will appear when my camera focuses. There it is. So you got your arrow here, and we got our arrow on our headphones. Now if we stick that in and spin it a little bit to the right, they'll actually lock into place. Now this is really handy because when you're DJing, when you're drumming, there's so many times where you yank stuff out. And the good thing about having a removable cable is if for some reason you do break this, it's gonna suck, but you can replace it. Your headphones aren't totally SOL, which is not available in a lot of Proline headphones, which is kind of ironic because those cables do eventually wear down, and it doesn't take much effort either. So the fact that this locks in and is user replaceable is very cool. Now what happens when you stick it into one end and lock it into place is this becomes the input, and this immediately becomes an output. Now you may be thinking, well, why on earth would you want an output on your headphones? I'm going to show you in a minute. It allows you to daisy chain headphones together. Now obviously, you could daisy chain pros to pros, but it'll also daisy chain any recessed jack 3.5 millimeter headphones. So right here, I have the Ultimate Ears 5VI headphones, and if you can see, this kind of has the iPhone-esque recessed style to it. There's not a big bulky plug here. Now if you don't have that big bulky plug, you can plug this into the other side and your headphones become splitters. So if you have a friend or someone else that wants to plug into your music or your movie or whatever you're doing, it can absolutely 100% work. This is nice because it alleviates the need for splitters, which are often bulky and half the time don't work. So it is a very unique feature that, may not be necessary, but when it does come in handy, it does come in handy, and it's pretty nice to have. So that's that. Let's move on to the other end and tell you what Monster includes. Monster doesn't include a ton of things. They include all their literature in very beautiful packaging, might I add. But what you're going to get essentially is a microfiber cleaning cloth, the headphones themselves, all of your literature, warranty information, all that good stuff, the cable, and then this 1/4 inch jack adapter. This is very nice if you're working in studios because it allows you to get a high fidelity sound and also compatibility through your mixers and soundboards. Now, the reason this is good is it twists on. It's just a really high quality, all 14 karat gold, 14 karat gold connectors, and it also hangs on here, so when you're not using it, it can become in use of handy. Most people won't need a use for this, but Proline musicians and other people absolutely 100% will. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug these headphones into our mixer here, which is going to a CD player, which is playing a CD that is lossless quality, absolutely 100% good quality that you're not going to find from your iPod, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But let's field test these a little bit, and I'll tell you what I think about them. Now, we'll turn all our mixer stuff on, and let's get this playing. If it'll play. All right. So you can hear the headphones at work. They do oscillate, they do pop up. And one thing you will note that are different from the studios is if you remember the studio headphones, they're $349 now, so they're $100 less, and they had a few things that really bothered me. The first one is they required batteries. Now, the Pros don't require batteries at all. While this is good that you don't have to replace batteries, it also comes with a downside, and I'll get to that in a minute. The other good things, though, is these flip up, which is pretty nice when you need to talk to someone. But one thing that the studios had that I really liked was it had a button, and you could press that button and it would mute the headphones. Now, unfortunately, the Pros, and for reasons I don't actually know, they don't have this feature, and it really is kind of a buzzkill, something that kind of made me sad because it was something that I really enjoyed. But you can flip this cup up and you won't experience many problems. So let's get talking about the sound quality. The bass is absolutely booming, and that was obviously the focus for the Beats by Dre. You You can crank these up really loud, by the way. The decibel meter just goes crazy when you're pumping stuff through. But the problem with this Studios and the problem with those other headphones that are a little bit lower end is they had a good deep sound, but all the other upper sounds sounded kind of garbage and a little bit muddled. And this became especially a problem when you had a lot of boom and bass in there. Now, obviously, bass booming through your speakers is a big major factor in these headphones, but luckily, these are very, very sensitive to equalization. So if you have good equalizing software on your computer or your music player, such as your Zune or something like that, iPods don't do it very well. But if you have it on one of your higher end music players, you can definitely tell a difference from when you use the equalizer. So that is pretty noisy. That is pretty awesome, and you can get that noisy bass out of the way if that's something you so choose. Now, let's talk about the mids and the trebles. Now, the trebles are absolutely phenomenal on these headphones, which were something that really, really lacked in the Studios that I reviewed about a year ago. I feel like they've really, really focused on the mids and higher end in this rendition of headphones. You know, the bass still was a focus and the lower end still is very important, but you do get really, really smooth, buttery mids that sound absolutely incredible and crisp, but not tinny trebles. There's just a right amount of focus on all ends. And as I said earlier, they are very easily equalizerable. So if you run into something that doesn't sound quite right or you feel like something is too overpowering, you can absolutely adjust it without much trouble. But these crank up really loud and much louder than you'd want to listen to them to. But, you know, they just look really, really professional. They look sexy. They have a good build quality, and the sound quality is really pretty remarkable. Now, if you're an average consumer, the question comes into play, well, do I want to buy $450 headphones? And the answer is probably not. Now, this is why. Your iPod, if you use an iPod as your primary music player, can only put out so much. And iPods are pretty well known for not putting out very good quality. Now, until about the Studios, you could notice a significant difference. Now with the Pros, they are so good that the two other factors of good music quality, and there are tons, but the two main factors, there's three main factors. The first one is your headphones themselves. We got the Pros, we're ready to go. The second, and probably second most important, is the bit rate of the music. Now when you buy from the iTunes store, it's 320 kilobits a second, which is pretty I think it's 256. 256 is pretty decent. It's not perfect, but it's okay. And, it's something that we will all manage with. But, it's definitely not my first preference. However, the higher you get is the better quality you're going to get. Now, that was really phrased poorly, so let me retry that. Right now, I am hooked up to my CD player, which is a high-fidelity studio CD player, which is outputting lossless footage. This means there's no compression. There's absolutely nothing that was restricting the beauty of music. Now, when you try and fit it onto iPods, this lossless file size becomes pretty stupid because you don't want to fit a 98 megabyte file song on your iPod. It's just not logical. You want to fit them into really small packets of about 4 to 5 megabytes. And this is cool to this point, but when you start getting in the lower compression rates, say about below 320 kilobits a second, you really start to notice a lacking in your music. Once you're above that, it sounds pretty good. Unless you have really, really pro-line headphones, you won't notice a difference. You will with these, by the way. But if you're running anything that is compressed, you will notice a little bit of a difference. Now, I'm not saying that everything will be. I mean, if you use a flat compressed file format or an really, really high fidelity MPEG audio file that's compressed, or a file that is pretty much, it's Apple lossless, it's not compressed very much, you're going to get a really high quality sound out of this. But if you're buying from iTunes, you're not going to get a great sound out of these headphones. Now, the third weak link in poor sounding music is the player itself. Now, this is especially present and prominent in these headphones because, as I stated earlier, there are no batteries, which means they aren't self-powered, which means they're going to need the power of your device, your iPod, to power these headphones. Now, these headphones are actually pretty efficient and they don't consume a ton of power, but they do way more than your average headphones, which means your iPod needs to put out everything it can to get these headphones running. Now, the fact of the matter is the iPod has restrictions on it that says, whoa, I don't want to put that out. I want to have a battery that lasts longer than 10 minutes. So what it does is it really significantly reduces the output quality on your headphones. And it also, the iPod itself doesn't have a great output quality through the headphone jack. It just isn't a focus. Apple focuses on design and user interface prettiness. And when you have really high quality headphones and you have really high quality music, you will notice that the weak link is in your music player. Now, if you're playing through your MacBook, through other professional sounding, other high-end consumer electronics, you won't notice much of a difference. But if you're on one of those lower end, iPod Shuffle, iPod Nano, any of the iPod line or the iPhone line for that matter, you are going to notice a difference. Now, you won't notice much of a difference if you're using one of the higher end music players on the market that put out good quality, like the Zune or some of the Pioneer players out there. They put out really high quality audio, and those are definitely the focus on those headphones, is good output quality. So final summation, and what I'm trying to say after all of that, is if you have an iPod, if you're perfectly happy with it, and that's what you're going to be listening to when you use these headphones, I would say don't get the Beats by Dre Pros. They're not worth the money. They're $450, and that's not something you should spend when you're going to be playing it through your $170 music player. Now, if you're going to be working in a studio, or you're going to be playing it through your laptop or something that has a higher quality output, these are definitely something you should consider. They are a little bit more premium compared to some of the other headphones out on the market, but the sound is really pretty good even for its high price point. And the build quality, as well as Monster customer support, is absolutely 100% superior in this field. So final summation, the Beats by Dre Pros look absolutely incredible. They sound absolutely incredible, and I have loved using them. Yes, they are a bit on the premium side, but I do feel like the price is justified if you're going to be using them in the right circumstances. If you're just using an iPod and you have no intentions of switching, don't get the Pros. Check out one of Monster's lower end headphones, or even move to some of the more prestigious headphone manufacturers such as Sennheiser, Audio-Technica, Shure, and a couple of those other big names. Grotto. Shure's not really one, so I shouldn't have said Shure, but Grotto. There's just a lot. AKG is one too. I could go on naming headphones forever, but basically what I'm getting at is these are great headphones, but they are a little bit of a premium. They are a little bit quote unquote overpriced, and they do still carry name brand manufacturing. However, that being said, I feel like they are awesome headphones. And at $450, they are definitely considerable, and I would consider them. Whereas with the studios at $349, you could find a much better alternative for cheaper. So this comes to the point where you really need to look at not just the headphones, but the other factors in your music digital life. So this is Quinn, That's Snazzy iPhone Guy. Hopefully this kind of summed up your thoughts and opinions on the headphones, and hopefully formed a resolution for you and have helped you decide exactly what you want to get. So if you have any questions, please leave it in the comments below. I'd be more than happy to help you out with this. And hopefully you can find a pair of headphones that suits you best. This video is sponsored by SquareTrade.com for the ultimate iPhone warranty. Go to www.squaretrade.com/TSIG for your 2-year iPhone warranty. Thanks so much for watching. This is Quinn, That's Snazzy iPhone Guy, and as always, stay snazzy.